The Souls games are pretty irrefutably some of the best games ever made and have, deservedly, received quite a bit of praise over the years. In this video, I'll be trying to determine what the best and worst thing about each of them really is. Keep in mind, this is my opinion, so feel free to disagree. I suppose that we will go in chronological order, starting with Demon's Souls. I would like to make note of the fact that I will be talking about the original and the remake separately, as I do not consider them to be the same game. I would say that the best thing about Demon's Souls is the atmosphere and the foundation it laid for future FromSoft titles. Without Demon's Souls, the rest of the games wouldn't exist, at least not in the way they do today, and many elements of the Demon's Souls experience can be seen in modern Souls games as well. The level design, the boss fights, and the world design, to name a few. And said world design is amazing. A younger, less established From Software was willing to experiment and go all in on the atmosphere of this game, and it really shows in the architecture of the areas and the designs of bosses and armor. The worst thing about the first game in the franchise is all the clunky, unneeded systems and experimental mechanics that didn't work out. While this is a hazard of trying new things, stuff like the strange timings on attacks and movement, boss runbacks, and incredibly unbalanced builds are detrimental to the experience. Dark Souls 1 is up next. I'd say the best thing about DS1 is the level design. Let's take a look at Firelink Shrine. While I am a firm believer that Majula is the best hub area in the series, it's undeniable how iconic this area is, as well as the rest of the areas in the game. Show a hardcore Souls fan a picture of any part of DS1, and I'm certain that they can tell you exactly what that area is. In addition to this, the levels don't just look neat, but they are also well thought out, and the shortcuts and interconnected level design that are integral to the series really shine here. The worst thing about DS1, however, at least for me, is the severe drop-off in the second half of the game when it comes to basically everything. While some bosses and areas are still consistently good, it feels like the second half was almost rushed out, or at least didn't have enough time and effort put into it. Dark Souls 2, my favorite game in the series by a wide margin. There are plenty of great things about the second installment, but by far the most prominent would be, at least for me, the sheer size of the game. Do you realize how big Dark Souls 2 is? There are 3 areas you can go to right from the start, and a whole 32 bosses compared to 26 in Dark Souls 1 and 19 in DS3. Not only that, but none are reskins, even if some of them aren't the greatest. Plus, the build variety in this game is insane, as it introduced power stancing and has 175 weapons in total. That's insane. Now, regrettably, I have to decide on what is the worst thing. For that, I'd have to say Soul Memory. Soul Memory is essentially a tally of all the souls you've ever collected, and determines who you are matched with in PvP and co-op, rather than your soul level. This is super dumb and doesn't make any sense, especially if you're trying to play with friends or someone else online. Also, at 1 million soul memory, the door to the castle, the final area of the game, just opens. I'm not even mad about this, just really confused. Alright, next up is Bloodborne, a fan favorite. I can't just say the world design on all of these games and leave it at that, so for Bloodborne, I'll say the designs of the bosses. Stuff like Cleric Beast and Orphan of Kos is genius, and I would say that when it comes to bosses, at least visually, Bloodborne solos the other games. As an honorable mention, I'd like to include the faster speed of Bloodborne with backstep dodges and quicker healing. It's a nice change of pace, and I appreciate it not just being reskinned Dark Souls. The worst thing is definitely the need to farm for blood vials. I'm not particularly good, so having to do this whenever I was really struggling on a boss started to get annoying. On to Dark Souls 3. I'll admit it, DS3 is my least favorite game in the series, but it does have some redeemable qualities. The boss fights in DS3 are great. The lighting, music, designs, and most importantly, movesets are top quality, at least most of the time. But I think that a lot of this also comes from the much smoother and overall better combat found in Dark Souls 3, which would go on to be integral in the design of Elden Ring in the future. It's faster, more fluid, and much more fun, which I can appreciate. Now, finally, an opportunity to talk about what I dislike in this game, and boy, is there a lot. First off, the level design. If the rest of the games are a maze, this one is a straight path with 200 feet tall metal walls on either side and 2 tour guides to hold each of your hands as you walk down it. It feels like there is a severe lack of shortcuts, interconnectivity, and everything else that makes the Souls games unique. In addition, it's incredibly boring to replay because you are limited to a total of like 3 builds. Sekiro, the other game in the series besides Bloodborne that deviates more on the formula. The best thing about this game would have to be the pacing of the combat. Never in Sekiro are you not moving, swinging through the air, or parrying an enemy's attacks. The heavier focus on parrying in this game rather than dodging keeps you in the action constantly, and it's hard to put down. Plus, the new movement mechanics are interwoven with the fights, being part of some of the arenas. The worst thing I would have to say is the build variety. Even more so than DS3, you are railroaded onto one path. In this game, however, I can attribute that to the fact that you are playing a set character, not one you create yourself. All in all, it's not that bad, but I can't just say Sekiro is perfect. Elden Ring is how many players got into the genre, including myself, and is one of the most beautiful games ever made. Everything the other games do, Elden Ring does just as well. It's huge, has great bosses, amazing level design, and even better build variety than DS2. If I had to pick just one as the best, I'd have to say how well the open world was implemented. It manages to embody everything the Souls-like genre is, while having a completely different world structure, and it enhances the game quite a bit. Honorable mention goes to the lore, which is somehow more in-depth and interesting than a lot of Dark Souls, despite only being a single game. The worst thing, I would say, is the fact that Elden Ring does everything good, but nothing great. It's so average at everything it becomes an amazing game, since everything is quite a lot, but nothing in particular stands out as what it does best, like in the other games. Finally, the Demon's Souls remake. What's good? The graphics are nice. What's bad? Everything else. All my homies hate the remake. If you got to this point, just know that I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll subscribe. Right now, I am working on a DS2 Halberds only run, as well as a DS2 area ranking. I'd love to hear your opinions on these games in the comments, and if we get to 50 subscribers soon, I'd love to start live streaming some games like Elden Ring Night Rain or the other Soulsborne games. Thank you so much for watching.